They have talent. They have what it takes to be better than the best. They know what it's like to be loved by millions. And they have that something special that makes them our $1 million babies. This is their story.
Yesterday he stood up and said, I want to be a cricketer and I want to play for my country.
Oh, yaar. Second best is not good enough.
In Calcutta, he's always the quintessential Dada.
Day by day, he's performing for himself and for team.
आज वो देखो अल्लाह ने उसको ये झाड़ू की बरकत से कौन से मुकाम पे पहुंचा दिया.
He will always be a hero.
কফি হাউজের সেই আড্ডাটায় আজারনি কোথায় হারিয়ে গেল সোনালি বিকেলগুলো সেই আজারনি.
The first impression was he was a slightly reserved kind of a boy, but fairly mischievous. Not very vocal, but he had a strong persona about himself, very strong aura around him.
This reserved young boy had anything but a meager childhood, belonging to one of the wealthiest families in Kolkata.
We have basically a business. We have got a business background. My grandfather and father we have got a large printing house. That is our major business. We print for all the corporates and the multinationals. We are basically a simple family, business family, a low-profile family.
Little did Chandidas and Nipura know that their low-profile family would one day be pushed into the limelight, all thanks to their youngest son, Sourav Chandidas Ganguly.
Ganguly, or Maharaja, as he is known, came from a very well-to-do family, and he was one of the first boys in school to have his own personal gym.
The Ganguly household had much more than just a gym. The palatial family house, built on a large plot of land in the south of Kolkata, consisted of an astounding 48 rooms and a 22-car garage.
Yeah, it's a big house. It's the total area of the house is 40 katha, which is really big. Nowadays, in present situation, nobody can dream of such a big area. And we used to have a small football ground in our house. Now that ground is not that big because a lot of buildings have come up, because as our family grew up, so we need some more places.
The space was needed, especially since it was a family tradition to spend all holidays together, no matter where they were.
Our growing years, we spent together a lot of time with my sister's place because my brother-in-law was more of a father figure to us. He never really differentiated me as a brother-in-law, but looked as a son only. So myself, Sourav and Snehashi's elder brother, we practically grew up together. We used to play together. And I used to study outside, so when we used to come down during the holidays in winters, they used to come over and stay at our place. As a family, I would say they are really big-hearted people, something which my brother still, and it has rubbed off on both the sons, Snehashi and Sourav.
But like millions of other Indian children, Snehashish and Sourav were also expected to adhere to the strict rules at home.
We are brought in a very simple manner. My parents were very strict. They are strict still now. Like we have to, by that time we have to enter home by 9 o'clock in the evening. Not now. Now with a lot of other activities we can stay out of our house after 10 o'clock. But at that time we were very strict. So we never used to go movie in night shows. We used to always have evening shows movie or afternoon shows movie.
Saurav's mother always wanted him to pursue an academic career, but his father had a different take.
He always used to help us or motivate us to play cricket. Like my mother used to always take care of our studies. Like she used to think that my father will take us away from studies. So she was very much controlled on us for studies and department. So this was our family.
On his mother's insistence, school life began for Sourav at the prestigious St. Xavier's School, Kolkata, a school for the esteemed that had an alumni which included people like Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore, industrialist Lakshmi Mittal, and the famous actor Raj Kapoor. Here, Sourav seemed to blend in fairly well.
He did very well in his Madhyamik, that is his class 10. He fared very well in his plus 2 boards and did very well in college also. To us, he was the quintessential Gangu, or Sourav as we called him, very beloved fellow student.
In a school that emphasized highly on a good academic streak, Sourav seemed to fit in perfectly.
He was an extraordinary student, very good student, because of the fact in class 9 and 10, 9, 10, 11, 12, in fact. He missed many classes. I think almost 6 months he was out of the class, out of the studies even. But after that he appeared in all the exams and he scored quite well.
With academics never being a problem area, Sourav took to sports in his free time, and his reputation as a sportsman grew immensely.
Basically, he was more a footballer, you can say. He was not a cricketer initially. He was a very good athlete in school days. He used to get all these cups in 100 meters, 200 meters. And he was a very good footballer. He used to play football, really, really good football he used to play in school life.
Saurav's first love was football, the sport that millions of other Kolkatans are passionate about. And what's more, he was no ordinary player.
He was a brilliant soccer player. I mean, I've seen him always playing the inter-college football matches, and he had a lethal left footer. I mean, I have vivid memories of playing with him in school whenever we used to, and watching him from the sidelines also. He had this lethal curved ball kick that he used to do, and he was a corner specialist. But I think prudence ruled end of the day.
Prudence sure did rule. Sourav, though being gifted at football, wisely decided to switch to cricket. Coming up after the break, we look into why the change was made and the amazing story that followed. Hallowed ground for every cricket-loving Kolkatian. It is a dream for most of them to even stand on the turf of Eden Gardens, the mecca of Indian cricket. Built in 1864, this is one of the largest cricketing facilities in the world. And it is this very venue where Saurav's closest friends and confidants say his real cricketing story began.
In Eden Gardens, he was in, it was an under-15 match. Way at that time he hit the 6. 236 landed in the stadium. Eden Gardens is a big ground, a 75 years ground. That 6 crossed the ground and landed in the gallery, which is really remarkable for an under-15 kid.
It definitely seemed like fate, and Sourav had a go at his destiny with a vengeance. Sourav had landed, and it was only a matter of time before he showed his true talent.
89-90, he got a chance in Bengal squad. Sourav got a chance to play in finals only. He made not much run, 22, but he started very well. Mr. Raj Singh, Mr. G.R. Vishwanath, all the selectors was here on that particular match. I still remember. Everybody impressed watching his batting. On that particular, like 28th March 1989-90, 28th March, Sourav started his run for the cricket.
The Ranji match did prove to be his big break, and in the months to follow, Sourav got to play his first one-day international.
He made his debut in Australia. His first match was, I think, against the West Indies in one international, where he got out very cheaply and got 3 runs by Malcolm Marshall.
But the international debut didn't go as planned. Following a poor performance in his debut, Sourav was dropped from the team.
He looked like he didn't belong at the time, and that can happen to a lot of young people who are thrown into a big situation. So at the time he looked like he didn't belong simply because he looked unsure of what he was doing. And a sure indicator of that is you freeze when you're running, your footwork isn't working. And so it seemed at the time that Sourav had come into international cricket a little before his time.
in 1991 when he was dropped, because he was only 18 or 19. So for anybody of that age, with a little bit of immature head, he was very demoralized. But slowly he started working very hard and he performed for Bengal and his zone very heavily. And the year he was picked in 1996 for England tour, I was very confident that this is the correct time for him for international cricket, and I was very confident that he will do very well.
It was in such a situation that Sourav Ganguly walked through the long room and walked out at Lord's to make his Test debut.
The stage was set. Sourav seemed a lot more confident.
First ball in Test cricket. I'll never forget when you played his first Test match at Lord's. I was pretty much in pressure and tense. Let's see what's going to happen. Honestly, touch wood, I can tell, if he got 40-50 runs, I was very happy. ठीक है यार, ये तो टीम में रह जाएगा. Nobody can drop Timba. Timba got a consecutive 200 in 2 tests. After that, Sourav Ganguly.
He's gone into the drive, he's beaten him for 4 runs. Ganguly is absolutely delighted. That's 100 on debut for Sourav Ganguly. And look at Lord's, they're all standing to man.
Sourav was a treat to watch from the word go. Millions all over the world sat back and watched the majestic way he played at the spiritual home of cricket.
Sourav Ganguly, 101 not out.
The way he could hike that ball, the way he could hit it over extra cover, the way he could sometimes hit it over point. When the ball needed to, when you needed to go, play in the air, he could play it. And he was offside, so he was, I mean, it was wonderful to watch him. We forgot our pens, we forgot our microphone, then just watched.
A sensation right from the start, Sourav's brand image soon started to gain pace. But not all that looked superior in the field looked the same on the screen.
He's very, very awkward in front of the camera. If you think Sachin is awkward and can't, and he's nervous in front of the camera, you should see Sourav. Sourav is like all over the place. And he admits it. He says, man, I can't do this.
Me? No, come on.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't a mistake. It was criminal. Because for a man of that stature and that pride and that sense of dignity and strength and aggressiveness, to reduce him to a dancing monkey was, I think, abhorrent. I was appalled.
But his abhorrent acting aside, Sourav was on a roll. He played some of the best cricket of his career, got married to longtime sweetheart Donna, and thanks to showing a lot of aggression and maturity on the field, with Tendulkar stepping down from the captaincy in 2000, Sourav was picked as the captain of the Indian team. What followed was a legendary tale in the world of Indian cricket.
He's a terrific thinker of the game, no? I have seen his aggression. His aggression is, he's a basically, players captain. Players captain like, Ian Chappell, we have seen players captain. He's a very aggressive on the field, whoever it is, opponent team. And beating Australia in Australia is something that is great to watch. And I believe he is the best captain India have ever produced.
Coming up after the break, we go behind the scenes and look into what goes into making Sourav the brand he is, and his over-publicized fall from grace. Over the next 5 years, Sourav captained the Indian side to some of the most dramatic and important.
Goes for the single. Direct hit was required. They don't get it. Zahir scampers for the second. India have won. This is an amazing win. The England team cannot believe it. Sourav Ganguly is thrilled to bits. But have a look at the Indian contingent in the crowd. One of India's most famous wins ever.
I think the defining moment of Saurav's captaincy is actually one of the moments he's most embarrassed by. Taking his shirt off at Lord's. And I'll tell you honestly, someone like me who doesn't like Lord's at all, I loved every minute of it because I said, listen, all you stuffy people, this is what sport is about. If people take off their shirt in a football match and run around, you say, wow, what celebration. But what Sourav did was just an expression of sheer joy. He's embarrassed by it, he probably won't do it again. But it told people of India, Andrew Flintoff, if you do it in Mumbai, I'll do it at Lord's.
I think the mavericks in the in the world make the world a little more interesting. People still remember Andre Agassi. John McEnroe is the legend of his craft, and they've all been really good tennis players, But there was an angle to them, this little angry, yelling, screaming, whatever, So Sourav with his balcony episode at Lord's, I thought that was fantastic, we won in your house, and let me show you now, kind of thing. You don't do that in my house. And if you do, then well, you know what, the mecca of cricket is no longer hallowed turf, and I can do that. I thought that was awesome.
But Sourav himself wasn't in the best of form. Eventually, it led to him being dropped from the squad towards the end of 2005.
It was expected that a person who'd been at the very top would not take defeat and failure well. It appeared that his touch and his feel for the game had slipped. The fluency of his stroke play was not so visible. So people felt that, including myself, felt that he couldn't really fight his way back into the team. So I think it's true that when he was captain, he had a certain arrogance and a certain, swagger about him. But he's been a different person since he was dropped.
The Bengal tiger was limping. His once majestic roar was heard no more. Even the cricket gurus didn't have too much to say. It seemed the end was here. Even his on-screen persona was once again showing signs of his despair.
क्यों हुआ, कैसे हुआ, ये सब सोच के दुख भी होता था, गुस्सा भी आता था। पर अब नहीं। मैं टीम में वापस आने के लिए बहुत प्रैक्टिस कर रहा हूँ। क्या मालूम, हवा में शर्ट घुमाने का मुझे और एक मौका मिल जाए। जो भी हो, टीम के अंदर या बाहर, मैं चुप बैठने वाला नहीं।
India! India!
I think it misrepresented him to a very large extent, because he's not the kind who would do that. He would keep very quiet and he'd say, give me a chance and I'll show you. He wouldn't turn around and say, hey, don't forget me. I'm not a pilot. How can you forget him? How can you forget him standing in Lord's with his shirt off, waving a thing around? You cannot forget him. There's no way he knows that. He's never going to state the obvious. He's not that kind of person. He will turn around and say, hey, remember me? I'm Sourav Ganguly. And I taught you guys how to fight. Let me come onto the field, I'll teach it to you all over again, because you're losing it. That is Sourav Ganguly.
Brand Sourav was taking a beating. Nothing was falling into place for the Bengal tiger. Pushed into a corner, he fought back.
My personal advice would have been for him to, call it quits and go out on a high. But look at him. He believed, he fought, he was determined. And of course, you need some little bit of luck. India didn't do very well. But the thing is, just coming back is not all that important. Come back, a lot of people have done. I've come back into the Indian team many times. But when you come back, and then you have to perform, and then you have to, silence your critics, that's what he surprised me once again. That South Africa tour was a revelation about his determination, about his belief. And so he has this ability. Just when you think that Sourav Ganguly is over, there's a new coming of Sourav Ganguly.
Sourav was back. Millions across the world got to see streaks of his earlier brilliance emerging again.
Everyone had written him off, including me. When he fought back, I actually wrote a public apology. It's the only cricket I've apologized to in public, because I underestimated his resilience and his fighting spirit. And Bengalis are not normally known for their fighting spirit. They knuckle down rather easily.
मैं हमेशा मानता आया हूँ कि कैप्टनसी पाना अलग बात है, कैप्टनसी निभाना अलग.
Resilience he had, And steadily, Sourav also regained his long-lost brand identity. Sourav the fighter. Sourav the man who would not back down. Bad brand decisions or not, Sourav Chandidas Ganguly will always be a son of Kolkata.
In Calcutta, he's always the quintessential Dada. So whatever Dada does, be it selling fuchkas or maida or atta or cell phones, telecom or sadia bars, what have you, he will always be a hero.
At the end of the day, his on-screen persona is not what his countrymen or history will remember him by. What generations will look back on is Sourav Ganguly's legacy for Indian cricket.
See, Sourav is not just a cricketer. He brought another value onto the field. Sourav brought leadership of a certain kind, which was aggressive, combative, and never second best. He never believed that as an Indian, he was second best to anybody, or that his team was second best to anybody, whether they were white, brown, black, or grey. And that was a very big thing because, you know, we have been ingrained in our psyche that the great white gods are superior to us in a lot of ways. You know, they're a superior race. And that we as Kalus, not quite 100% competitive. I think Sourav changed that forever in the field of cricket.